Hello and welcome to another conversation. With me in observance of National Women's History Month are Emily Pollock. She and her husband own and operate Spoke and Feather. She has 20 years of experience in the nonprofit sector and brings laughter, creativity, and ingenuity to every project. She is an avid writer, teacher, and artist. Next, we have Miss Sandra Barrett. She enjoys time with close family and friends, as well as good music, and loves to travel. She is currently the director of the Office of Certification and Eligibility under the EDA Business Development Program in SBA headquarters in Washington, D.C. And lastly, we have Miss Monica Matar. She's a realtor with Keller Williams of suburban Tampa in Florida. She's a budding author and believer, motivating the world around her, as well as a fashionista extraordinaire. Welcome, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Thank you.
I'm great, and I'm doing even better now that I have the three of you ladies here with me to share various aspects, obviously, as it relates to historical female figures in your lives. So I want to start by asking each of you, we're just going to jump right in. I want to find out whose shoulders does each of you ladies stand on? And I'm going to start with Emily.
I come from a long line of survivors, a long line of women who walked the trail of tears, who, fought and died and birthed babies, who pushed boundaries and never took no for an answer. So those are all of that's like my backing. Like they're not even my pips. They're like they hold me up every day.
Absolutely.
My ancestors, especially my Cherokee ancestors, because like what they went through, I can't even imagine. So,
right.
But I also still live with a lot of their like, here's some trauma that we can pass on from generation to generation. But I feel like they're always with me. So the first person I brought today to share with is Anita Roddick, and she's not super historical. She founded the Body Shop in 1976, which if you guys grew up when I did, the Body Shop was like in every mall. It's a global, and as well as Spoken Feather right now, I'm also sort of selling Body Shop products. And part of the reason I went back to it is because I've gotten really frustrated with the way we do consumerism in America. You just, buy stuff, you go to Amazon, you don't care beyond your door how it's impacting the world. And What I love about Anita is when she founded the Body Shop, pretty quickly she started doing fair trade with communities in Africa and South America and in especially indigenous communities throughout the world produce a lot of the the shea nuts or the various and sundry things. She was also an environmental activist. So the first campaign they ever did was a Save the Whales campaign in the late 80s. But they're partnering with indigenous folks in the Amazon to produce ingredients, but also to save those hectares of Amazon rainforest from being logged.
Oh my goodness.
And what she was about as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, and as somebody who works in the beauty industry, was about saying people should feel good in their bodies. Beauty is a thing that we are trying to attain, but it doesn't have to look like what somebody else tells you it looks like. It's about feeling good. And so, and for, as a little fat kid, that was a really important message for me to hear.
Right.
To have a beauty brand that said, you're fine. We can make you feel better. We can make your skin, no ashy elbows, no, all of the challenges.
Exactly.
We can address those without saying, but if you have a wrinkle, hide it. She never used the words anti-aging. She was pro-aging because the alternative is not so great, that our wrinkles are the stories that we have, the laughs we have shared.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So she's a woman that I started working for the Body Shop when I was in college. And I love that I had sort of a matriarch in that who had that approach to the world. So
No, that's awesome. So many untold stories that could really benefit people in a motivational way. Not to sound corny or anything, but there's just so many people out here doing some amazing things that people need to know about.
Right.
So Ms. Barrett, who rather is the first lady you would like to share?
Ooh, mine is a little different. Thinking about this question, I was thinking about just my overall life, but then, thinking exactly where I am right now and how I got here. And it's weird. As you all know, I received my degree in fashion, and just my parents just couldn't see me moving to New York and kind of handling that lifestyle. My mom, let me just say that, very conservative and wanted to talk about being a doctor or a lawyer. And I said, they're overrated. I don't want to do that. I want to do something fun. But I think she put the fear in me going to New York and saying, you're going to be a starving artist. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. So stayed here and got my master's in Maryland in business. We have a lot of small business owners in my family coming from Dominican Republic.
Okay.
Where I'm from, it's just all my family's own small businesses. So it was something in me, but I just didn't know it was in there. Ended up at SBA as a marketing, I think it was in the marketing division, spreading the word about the SBA program. And then one day I was asked.
I think I recall that.
Yes, you were there. We worked together. We were both newbies in there. And then someone said, do you want to be in the 8A program? And I said, okay, I'll try it. They said, you can advance and move further in your career. But I wasn't thinking about staying in government. I'm like, government is not very creative. Do I design their uniform? Like the paper? What do I do? And then it just haven't sent. By then, Chris was gone, and met Francine Morris. And Francine Morris took a liking into me. She was, I guess to say, can I say this word, badass on here?
Yes.
Censored. Okay, she's a badass woman. Was the vice president of a company and just knew about small business and contracting. And I sat next to her and she said I was a sponge. And I kept asking questions. And that's how the relationship started. She started taking me to these agencies, listening. And I'm thinking, there's about 20 people in here and she's fighting all of them. I'm like, oh, I want to be like her. And I'm thinking, I'm holding myself and saying, okay, you're going to piss them off. And I will have to chime in sometimes. She meant this versus this. But I've been leaning on to now my position where I am here. It's a quick phone call to say, hey, do you even think I'm ready to even be a director? And in 5 seconds, she was like, you're second guessing yourself.
Right.
You got to just do it. And I didn't even think about that. And she was like, okay, you know what? You're pissing me off because you're ready and you've been ready. And I'm not sure. She's like, everyone knows you. The job is yours. And I'm here and the job became mine. So she's my shoulder to lean on when it comes to this industry and what I'm doing today.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Sandra. So Ms. Matar, talk to us. Who is the first lady you would like to share with respect to whose shoulders you stand on?
Well, I like Sandra, got my degree in merchandising in college, and I just didn't end up going that route. And so when I got married and had children, I ended up in the mortgage business because the mortgage business allowed me to work kind of part-time and still make full-time income, even though it was all commission. So anyway, so the woman that I want to feature today, her name is Daphne Pickney. And her and I were in the mortgage business together, and she went up to like a management level, and then from there she quit that. She let go of her $200,000 base salary, took a step of faith, and became a real estate agent. And so she did that about 6 years ago. She went from being an agent to having her own team. And she's like an inspiration to me. I follow her on Instagram, and we don't talk, but I watch her because she started about 6 years ago. And now she's brought her daughters, her husband, she's brought other realtors on staff with her. So she's got her own group. It's called the Pickney team.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're just like, they're killing it in the real estate world. And then she recently joined EXP, which is a real estate company that Elena Cardone is over. And so it's like this whole empire of like powerful women and business women in real estate, and not just making money from a sale, like a transaction, but actually having stock in the company so that you're able to have shares and produce income that way, in addition to your commission that you get each time that you sell a home. And so anyway, I watch her because I'm a new realtor here in Tampa. And I just watch her because I'm like, I want to one day have my entire family in the business, because we're all in sales and fashion and all of that. We all like to talk. So I just thought it would be so awesome to have my children as realtors with me, so that we could build this whole empire of not just buying and selling and helping customers and investors, but eventually to the point where we build and we have investment properties and we flip and we have Airbnbs and we just have this whole real estate empire, just to make a change and to make a difference. And so anyway, so I look to her because she's doing what I want to do in that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To have someone that you can model, someone that you trust, they exude confidence, leadership, just all of the embody all of those things that, like you said, you aspire to be. I mean, that's just an awesome setup, and everything that you were laying out, Monica. I'm like, okay, I need to make a note about that one. I need to ask her about that one. So, Emily, back to you. Are you going to share another lady with us?
Yeah. So I have my mom is not just my mom. She was sort of never just my mom. That's not entirely true. When I was a little tiny kid, she was like an artist and a seamstress and like just sort of an everyday mom. And then when I was in kindergarten or first grade, my parents were like, "Hey, we're moving to Massachusetts because mom's going to seminary. Mom's going to become a priest." So that's the thing that happened.
All right.
And I went from having sort of this weird, artistic, crazy mom to having a clergy mom. And when I was 22, I believe, 24, because she's about to celebrate her 20th year of being consecrated as the first Native American female bishop in the Episcopal Church, or in the Anglican community worldwide.
Wow.
And she was on the cover of New York Times that day. It was big news. She was sort of the first Indigenous person from around the world in any Anglican communion worldwide to be elected bishop. And she made that day. You can see my grandmother's got her back. She's wearing her ribbon dress behind her. And what I love about my mother is that for all of that sort of highfalutin, here's who she is stuff, she's still very much my mom. She was always sort of my dad's wife. Like she still could, like there was never sort of this idea that like being successful meant limiting or turning your back on, or not being still a whole person. She's also very grounded in like making community work. She does lots of work with younger because there aren't a whole lot of young people who are really interested in seminary, but like getting younger Indigenous folks interested in going to seminary or alternate paths to ordination for Native folks so that they can actually serve their home diocese. And so what I love about what my mom taught me how to like reinvent yourself over and over and over again. But also how to stay strong even when, when people are like, you can't do that. She's kind of like, watch me. But without being sort of, not in that sort of Real Housewives way of like, I'm going to burn everything down on the way out, but like, come with me, and that idea of come with me, let's all be successful together. Let's all like, let me raise all these boats, is really how I try to live my life. So yeah, my mom.
Talk about women's history. That's, like literally she made history and steadily doing so. So Oh wow, I'm glad you shared your mom's story with us. Part of that story with us, yeah. Miss Barrett, who is the next lady that you would like to share?
Ooh, yes. For this person, I wanted to tie in my love for fashion,
Mm-hmm.
business also in there, but made an impact. Most of the women that we hear these days are their voices are out there based on their political aspects and making changes. It's hard because I feel like women do not get that recognition as men.
Mm-hmm.
Not starting another conversation, but I'm just putting it out there. And
Yes.
to me, I just felt like another woman who's a badass is Madam C.J. Walker. I felt like she's not getting recognition for what Avon started. When she started her company, she still is being recorded as the first self-made billionaire.
Right.
And you don't really hear that. Seems like the history has been not erased, but now it's not talked about. And in my journey of not accepting the texture of my hair as being very curly, wanted to be straight because that was in my journey of it. I'm excited to see so many women of color now coming out with product like Emily was saying, that's basically it's for you. It identifies you, and it's saying it's okay to look how you were born. Why do you want to switch yourself because society is saying that? So I started thinking about it, and I'm saying to myself, okay, you know what? She never stopped, even though she was somewhat a political figure back then, but not like now.
Yes.
She never stopped. And then when she realized that she couldn't do it on her own, she created doing the direct marketing selling, saying, I'm going to give to you and you become my voice piece. So it creating the system where I'm not the only one making money. You're also making money. I'm getting the majority of the cut. That's where the royalty comes in, but I'm empowering you to become your own business owner. And I felt like that kind of ties into what I do today with the small businesses, whether they're male or female. But I think my job is empowering more females to get into the game. From 2014 to 2019, the women businesses increased to like 43%. We have always been neglected. It's kind of like we can't do a better job because we also have I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a godmother. All of those things together, it's kind of like we can't manage, we can't multitask. So I'm here today and said we can, and we can even do it better.
Yeah, look, women have proved it since the beginning of time. The multitasking, prowess of women has always been at the forefront of history. Emily, you wanted to interject something?
I just wanted to put a little pin in this idea about direct marketing, because I feel like, it started, Avon, all these things. There's sort of this like, oh, MLMs are all evil and they're all pyramid schemes and they're girl stuff. And when a man tells you he's going to open a Burger King franchise, people are like, oh, you are? Get that Burger King money. Now he has to shell out $200,000, $500,000 for that franchise. And maybe he'll be successful and maybe he won't. And he's poisoning his community. But when women decide we're going to make ourselves feel better, build businesses and try to do that, it's like, oh, that's women's, that's an MLM. It's like,
but it's still a thriving business.
Exactly.
Thriving businesses
because I put a little pin in that because I've heard a lot of
more of the circle is who you know. The more people you know, the more people that are comfortable with, then you're selling it. And so in an economy right now with COVID, you don't need social media. You kind of like, hey, Susie next door, you still want to buy some Avon? You want to buy some products? I can sell. So it's something that has always worked, but. And that's what I'm saying. We don't, like Chris, you were saying, going back, we're not giving, that recognition, that power. Like my doctor always say, something like that. I have a male doctor, and he'll say, women are the strongest because men can't have babies, and they will never be able to feel that pain. It's not the same pain that you held there. So I think I'm here to elevate and put that badass at the end of our name.
You're gonna have me saying and thinking badass for the rest of this weekend.
Sure.
Monica, where are you? There's another lady whose shoulders you stand on, And
Yes.
who is she?
I chose this woman for a different reason other than what she's really famous for. It's Harriet Tubman. And of course, she was this badass as far as freeing 300 slaves. I mean, and she carried a gun, and she was I mean, the lady was badass for real, like back in the 1800s. But anyway, but the point is that I chose her because she was a woman that had dreams and visions and these supernatural encounters with God, and he would tell her what to do, where to go, and he would give her all the insight that she needed in order for her to be successful on her mission. And so like with these 300 slaves that she went back and forth, made all these trips for, she never lost one of them. Right. But the reason why I chose her was because I became a Christian in 1993, and I was the first amongst my immediate family. And since then, I have had this long history of having dreams and visions, and God shows me stuff, and I record it. I write it down in my journals. I record it on my phone. As soon as I wake up from a dream, I record it. And it's so mind-blowing because he shows me people and places and people's intentions and their motives and all this stuff that I couldn't possibly know. And then when time goes on, I realize that exactly what he showed me is what was, or like he'll give me a person's name and their first and last name. So I'll get up and I'll Google it as soon as I wake up, and I'll discover that that's a real person and who that person is. And so anyway, I identified with her because it's real. And so I also wrote my first book, because I found my natural father by a dream that God revealed to me, that I was quote unquote adopted, that I never knew, that I didn't know my real father. But because he gave me a dream in 2001, I was able to find him kind of supernaturally in 2010, where God was giving me like specific details that helped me find him. And so that was just one example. I mean, there's so many examples of stuff that God has showed me and revealed to me, and it's all recorded. But so this book just takes you on a journey of how I, meeting my father and everything, like my whole life up until that point when I finally met him in 2010, and how God just orchestrated everything, and how he was just unfolding things and revealing mysteries and stuff like that. And so when I found out that she had the same thing, I was like, oh wow, then I identify with her, and I could kind of rest on her shoulders. And I really want to be known to the world as someone that teaches people, or kind of like a witness that God speaks in dreams, that it's common, and he speaks to us in visions if we give him the time, if we like set aside time to just kind of listen and close our eyes and be still, that he speaks to us, and that he reveals mysteries, and that you could have that intimate, close relationship with God where all this stuff, because he says that he chooses to reveal things to his prophets, and that nothing is done unless he reveals it first to his prophets. And so anyway, so I'm just honored that God chooses to reveal stuff to me, and that as I'm growing in it, I'm learning how to interpret and how to kind of get what he's saying, because a lot of times it's not actual, it might be symbolic. Right. So you have to like decipher to be like, okay, what does this symbol mean? What does that symbol mean? You just kind of have to piece it together through the help of God to be like, okay, God, reveal to me what you're trying to show me, so that I can understand it and apply it correctly and impact other people's lives through it. So.
Now see that, I mentioned chills. You guys had given me the chills earlier. Monica, you got me just then. You got me.
Chris, if I can say something, it's I just listening to the Joseph of today, and that takes me. And I also want to know, Chris, did you know there was a connection with the faith? Emily's mother, my dad is a minister, and then Monica is just like, I'm thinking the connection is here. If it wasn't like, that's not powerful there. You know about Emily's mother. My father's a minister, and Monica talked about now interpreting dreams and discernment. It's hey, God is good.
Hey, ladies. Her father is one of the coolest ministers on the planet. I'm telling you.
I can imagine.
Hey, look. Aside from the fact that he could be former President Obama's older brother, Yeah, no, I kid you not. I wish I had a picture of him.
I know.
But anyway,
They look alike.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they look alike.
Tall,
Yeah,
slim, just-
striking.
Stature, no,
Everything, the swag and everything.
Monica, I said he's one of the coolest ministers on the planet.
Yes.
You talk about swag. I'm like, look at this cat. And what are we saying this out? Who do you think he is? You know. But no, Sandra, that connective tissue, you just hit it. And Emily and I were speaking earlier before we started, the synergies, creating those synergies, right? And that connective tissue that's going to piggybacking on what Monica was mentioned earlier about one of the ladies that she spotlighted, creating those systems, those ecosystems that feed into and off of one another and create this conglomerate that, is standalone, but at the same time, it functions so much better together. Monica,
Could I share one last thing? I thought
absolutely.
this was important. When I found my real father, it took a while to find him, but the reason why he was a secret, why my mother never told me about him, was because she's Palestinian. She's from Jordan, and so when she came here, she ended up being an orphan and growing up in the orphanage system. And so my father was quite a bit older than her, and he's Black, of course. She's Arab, he's Black, and she was 16 when she met him, and he was a pimp, and he was trying to get her to be his prostitute. But because she got pregnant with me, it stopped that whole plan. And so I just thought that was so amazing, because I was like, oh my God, I'm the product of an orphan and a pimp, and being biracial with those two different cultures. And to think that God brought this prophetic believer through their union to make a whole change in the whole family and the whole trajectory is just it blesses me. And I think about Joseph, because Joseph was the dreamer, and his whole family, it was different. They despised him and all that, but he ended up being the one that saved his whole family. And so anyway, it's just kind of like kind of like a black sheep, and in a unlikely situation to produce something like that.
Whoa. Yes, Emily, yes.
I was just thinking, when you think about whenever people are like, oh, I'm hurt, the whole blessed thing, like I must be special because, I follow Jesus. And you look at the people who Jesus hung out with,
right?
And it was like the prostitutes and the not so great fishermen, and the third son who definitely wasn't getting married in the first round, all the kind of the detritus, and he brought them together and lifted them up. And that to me has always been you want to know what Jesus is about?
Exactly.
Yes.
Look in the corners and see who's not being taken care of. Take care of those people, and that's how you live Christ in your life. Don't stand under somebody else and be like, oh, but they're perfect. Oh, but they're so pretty. Find the person who needs you the most, and that's how I don't know, that for me is always, that connection is always where it lives.
You see this again. This is why I like having these conversations. You never know, and since we're there, you never know where the Spirit is going to lead you, and again, that connectivity, it knows, right? We just need to walk in it, right? Be it obedience, however you want to categorize it. This phenomenon, all of it, is just a beautiful thing to me. That's why, again, I love finding out certain stories and finding avenues and making even more platforms to share them with folks. You never know what tidbit, what piece of that story is going to positively impact or influence someone's life. And the longer you live, you see that. You see that manifestation of all of that stuff playing out before you, and you can't plan it. You cannot plan some of this stuff, as Sandra kind of alluded to a minute ago. So just real quickly, I want to close this out. I know, Monica, you touched on how you want to be remembered, but just really quickly, I just want you ladies to share individually just a quick statement of overarchingly, how you would want to be remembered. What say you, Emily?
I want to plant trees I'm never going to sit under. I want to show people how to garden. I want to cultivate love wherever I can. And, I want to empower women by reminding them that, like, beauty is important, but, like, what matters most is, like, how you treat other people and how much you connect and how much you give. I think we live in a very sort of, like, I can ghost anybody. Like, people are walking away from each other. People are sort of, like, pushing each other to the side with such ease. And, like, I want to sit there with you. I would rather fight with you, right? Like we can disagree, and I can fight with you all day long because I want to, like, live with love. Because, like, you can love someone and fight with them like cats and dogs.
Right. Absolutely.
It is unloving to walk away if you truly care about somebody, and to not engage when you disagree.
I've made several mental notes from what you just conveyed. And I will be circling back to make sure I codify those in some form or fashion. That's very powerfully put and said. Sandra, what's your statement? How would you like to be remembered?
As a servant. My statement is as a servant. I believe we were here to serve. It's not about what our wants and needs. That comes. God give us that. But I believe we're here to empower, stretch a hand to someone and assist them, even if they don't know. Most of the time people, you want to hear people say, I need help, but we all know when somebody needs help. So to me, I feel like being a servant. And I like this last question because I want to end it with Deborah, one of the judges in the Bible, who went against the grain at a difficult task, another woman that no one believed she could. And I think that's what my life is now. I love challenges. If something, they say something's broken, don't fix it. I really don't believe that, because there's some tweaks or something in between there. It may not be broken, but maybe it's probably not working how it should be. I was 20 years ago, now 50 years ago.
Yes.
That's my task, is servant for everyone.
Everyone was like, yes.
yes.
And Monica, I know you've already mentioned a couple of things, but please close that part out for us. How would you specifically want to be remembered? What's your statement?
In addition to, like I said, helping people to realize that they can hear God and have that close walk with Him, and that it's exciting, like it's not this boring religious thing that we're taught in a lot of churches where you're like, oh my God, but that it's exciting because it's like he partners with us. And so I really want to be known for that, or remembered for that. But of course, to piggyback off of what Sandra and Emily said too, of course, to be a servant where I thoroughly enjoy helping people. I help people even when they don't ask, and not to be like self-righteous, be like, oh, I did this, I'm so great. Not like that, but no. I see a need and I love to meet it. It's just like, it brings me, that's what God put us here to do. And so I help them. I like to connect them to resources and people that can help them if I can't help them. And just to be known as someone who loves, someone who's generous, someone who's sensitive, and someone who just reflects God and His love. Yeah.
Whew. I tell you, you ladies have thoroughly touched and blessed me this morning. This is Emily. I alluded to earlier. I had a decent idea of who to kind of put together. I try to stay connected to my spirit, man, and looking at, how should I put it? Well, just from what I know about you ladies, and some of the things that I didn't know. But again, I wanted to be obedient, kind of, okay, all right, just let me just follow, and you got this kind of thing. And Sandra touched on it. Who would have known there were so many connective tissue with respect to these varied stories? People from completely different, not just parts of the country, but the world for that matter. It's just I love this stuff. I love it. But anyway, I cannot thank you ladies enough for imparting that information. I am so looking forward to speaking with you ladies in some respect in the future. Obviously, I know each and every one of you, but no, I just absolutely have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I'm so glad you took the time to join me.
Thank you, Chris.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
All
you for
right.
honoring women and giving us this platform.
Hey, look, I grew up around a bunch of women. There was a lot of estrogen around me, okay? And I thank them now. I thank them forevermore because I am forever indebted to the ladies in and around my life. So this was, it wasn't a second thought. I was like, this has to happen. I just need to find out who wants to participate. So thank you, ladies, again.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So
All right,
good
well,
to meet everybody. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So everyone, Emily, Sandra, and Monica sharing a wealth of tidbits with respect to the ladies, historical figures who have, imparted certain things in their lives that motivate and inspire them with respect to Women's History Month. I thank you guys for always supporting us. As you know, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel at lifewriting.com. Thanks again for always supporting us. Lifewriting.com, where writing speaks.